South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome in, everybody, and happy Monday. This is Sports by the Book. We are live at the South Point Hotel and Casino. A lot to get to today. First ever 12-team playoffs. They are set. We will go through that first round and see if we like anything there. We've got a Monday Night Football game, Simpsons edition between the Bengals and the Cowboys. 3 hockey games on the board, 5 college basketball, and 1 NBA. So we will get to as much as we can. Happy to be here with you for everybody behind the glass. We've got Drew Dog, Ryan, and Vince here with us. I'm Alex White. Co-hosting with me today is Kenny White, professional sports bettor. Let's dive right in. It's really exciting time. They announced it yesterday before the NFL games begun, and we have our 12 teams set. So the committee, the big question was what they were going to do with Alabama. Alabama 3 losses this year, a couple big wins though, and SMU, we thought they really needed that win over Clemson to remain in the college playoffs. Clemson steals the bid. They are in. No bye for them. They are the 5 seed. No, well, they're the 12 seed, actually, even though they did win. And they made the right choice, I believe. They did keep SMU in to try and set a precedent that it is important to get to these conference championship games, and you will not be punished for it, so long that the game is competitive. And SMU really fought back to hang around in that game. So what is your initial thought? We don't have the 12 best teams going off of power ratings. We know that is hard to do when a lot of the best teams are in the same conference in the SEC, but we have 12 really good teams here. What do you think?
Yeah, Alex, good morning. I don't know. It was kind of anticlimactic for me, I guess, after watching the conference championship games. I felt like the college football playoff started at that point.
Yeah.
It really did, except for some teams that lost, got to move on. 3 teams, SMU, Penn State, and Texas, all off losses, all get to go into the college football playoff. But those teams are pretty deserving. They are in our top 20 and should be there. Arizona State and Boise State getting byes, amazing seasons that they've had. Arizona State played a much more difficult schedule. And credit's got to go out to Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo. They have an offense that doesn't look like it can be stopped. They're so good offensively, and their defense is playing great too. So they are both, with byes, 2 of the hotter teams in the country and playing like it. But we'll see when, Boise State plays a Penn State, how they do. But it will be a home game. So I believe it's a home game.
Going to that second round, they just get the bye, but then it will be neutral from there.
Well, no home game, so that hurts Boise State quite a bit. So Arizona State will play Clemson or Texas, most likely Texas. My numbers are pretty close on all of these games, and excited for it. I think that they're going to be fun games. One game on Friday night, that's going to be a lot of fun on this Friday night coming up, and then Saturday, 3 games, one after another. It'd be kind of like a New Year's Day, which will be a lot of fun.
To your point about Arizona State, we thought we had an edge there without their number 1 wide receiver and Tyson being out, and man, they did not skip a beat. And that Scatabo, that running back, is very good. So 2 of the best running backs right here made it in with Boise State and Arizona State. So that is exciting to see for them. So my question to you, because my numbers are very close as well, leaning to a couple favorites and a couple dogs, but not a huge difference. Is this where we really dive in and look at numbers and, look at the tangibles and try and make cases for some of these dogs and taking the points here?
Yeah, I think so, because they're such big games, and it may be the case where you have more time now to do a little bit more work and digging into, I dug deep into SMU Clemson, and when I did, it turned me around, and Clemson hadn't beaten anybody. They only played 2 good teams all year, and they got destroyed in both games. I know they're good, but, SMU outplayed them. SMU outplayed them. They fell behind. Turnovers cost them the game. But SMU had a better yards per average in the game. They had 28 first downs to 20. They turned it over twice. Clemson did not turn it over. Cade Klubnik, no interceptions. So
I watched that game from start to finish. If Clemson would not have gone up 21-7 in that first quarter and have that lead, SMU would have by far won that game.
So the real process should be adjusting your ratings to what you saw and what happened in the game, making a line, and then we have to talk about different things in these games. And I've always said, when I have a line that I have a play in a game and I can find things that back up my reasoning for having a play in that, those usually are really good plays. So it's hard, though, to go against the numbers, though. That's the hard part. If you find something opposite of the numbers, then you may not want to go with that. So I would say, again, there's got to be a process, and if you stick to it, you're gonna do well in the long run. These are tough games. A lot of general public money are going to be on these games, and you're right. The favorites could be bet up, and they could be bet up higher, so there could be some value on the dogs.
Really tough right here, that round, that 8 and 9 seed, Ohio State and Tennessee. So winner of that will go on to face number 1 Oregon. So it's very unfortunate for Oregon to go undefeated, get the 1 seed, and then have that matchup. Of course, you cannot predict that, and having 2 good teams there in the 8 and 9 seed in Ohio State and Tennessee, but that kind of makes it hard to take a future bet on either of those teams, right? With Oregon or Ohio State. Might want to wait until you have that matchup. It is a rematch that we thought we were going to get for the Big Ten championship, but maybe you want to look at a team like Texas that might have a little bit of an easier road there with Clemson and then Arizona State, or, Notre Dame down there, Indiana, and then Georgia. Georgia does have a bye week. Get Carson Beck healthy, hopefully, or even Penn State. Do you like Penn State? We think that's one of the better spots right there.
Looking at the bracket and thinking about what they did, and it is pretty interesting that they matched up SMU and Penn State, who both lost. They matched up Clemson, who won, and Texas. They matched up the 4 teams that had to play in the conference championship. The other 4 teams did not play this past weekend: Indiana, Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Ohio State. So I find it interesting that happened that way. I'm not sure if that's that's the way it came out. It looks more to me like they set that up and they said, "Hey, let's make sure these teams are all on equal rest."
Oh.
So there's no advantage rest-wise, which I don't know if that's fair or not, because they do put now different matchups out there that maybe they weren't anticipating. So, or I wasn't, but I didn't expect Boise State and Arizona State to get buys to the final 8. It is the final 8. It's not the final 4. So they still need to win those games, but they have an advantage with that extra week's rest.
That's a good point, because Jeff Parles and myself, when we were on air for the NFL slate yesterday and these were announced, kind of talked a little bit, and he thought Ohio State should have got that 4 spot where Penn State is, or that 4 ranking, to put them in that 6 seed spot because they won the head-to-head against Penn State. But looking at that, that would be very tough for the SMU Mustangs having to face Ohio State in the first round, and they had a nice bye week. So it's an interesting point that you make there, that they are matched up like that.
So Penn State's number 4, and Ohio State beat Penn State.
Yep.
It's tough to.
That could have been one of the ones that they definitely could have switched there.
And the books put up really good numbers. Like I said, I don't have big differences, but I will try to build cases, as you said. I think for the underdogs in these games, Indiana, Notre Dame, state rivalry. I mean, they're on opposite ends of the state. Notre Dame, South Bend in the north, and then Indiana in the south. But that's very interesting. 200 miles apart. It's going to be a great crowd for that game. But Notre Dame's home is worth quite a bit. I only made the game 8 though, and I know it opened 9 here at the South Point.
I do want to just go through those numbers of what the South Point does have. So starting with that Indiana and Notre Dame right now, 8-point favorite at home. That total 50.5. Looking ahead to the SMU and the Penn State game, Penn State 8-point favorite, total 54. Clemson and Texas minus 11, 51.5. And then Ohio State over Tennessee, 8-point favorite, 47.5 is the total in that one. So we'll dive into those more, probably go through them Wednesday like we normally do and preview those games. But we do have some good. We'll see how good. We got to really dive into the bowl games and see who is and is not playing, so we have accurate numbers for those matchups too. But we do have Army-Navy coming up, which we'll be able to break down and cover on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few games this weekend. We could even jump into some FCS football. But I wanted to ask you, I was wondering if, with any connections with UNLV, if the players knew before Friday's game that Barry Odom was leaving.
I do not know that answer. I will have to try and find that out. But as far as I know, no, I do not believe they did. And I was on Cofield and Company. He was in Boise on Thursday doing that show remotely. And yeah, I don't think there was any news or any hints of it. I'm sure they knew that he was talking to schools, right? And people were trying to.
You have to know that. I mean, the years he's had. I mean, they should have been proactive and went after him and given him a big contract. In this day and age in college football, you're basically one game from playing in the college football playoff. Your team that you're battling against, Boise, is there. So I just don't understand why they couldn't be proactive on it. And
not to mention Boise's leaving the conference, so they could just have dominated the Mountain West for years to come. And it might make it a little bit tougher to have a guaranteed spot from the group of 5 conferences, but
yeah, if you're that dominant school,
yeah,
you're right. Could have been in every year because they get one group of 5,
kind of like Gonzaga for college basketball.
Yeah, exactly. So they play in a bowl game on the 18th. They're playing Cal. That'll be interesting. And you're right, bowl games now with the transfer portal being open, that you have to know who's leaving and who's playing. That's going to be big for all these teams. Yes,
because I've already blindly done some numbers coming up this week, and they're pretty far off from the book. So I need to really dive into each team and each player there. But let's go ahead and move to Monday Night Football. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. This game could not be flexed out of this spot because it was already set that it would be a Simpsons edition, and they had already made all the graphics and all that fun stuff tonight. So we should have an interesting game. If nothing else, it's a 50 total here. We know the Bengals have been on a nice over streak because Joe Burrow, Chase, they keep putting up the numbers, and their defense continues to struggle. But here we are, the Bengals, 5-point favorite on the road. And as I mentioned, the total 50, still no Dak Prescott, out for the year. So we will have Cooper Rush in. And I know you did some median numbers for both of these quarterbacks. If you want to start there and kind of dive into Burrow and Cooper Rush.
Yeah, and again, I'll start with my number on the game. I made Cincinnati 8 and 59 in the game. It's, as you said, overrun for Cincinnati, 5 in a row, 9-3 on the year over, and the Dallas Cowboys are 8-4 over, and they've gone over their last 3 games now that Cooper Rush has, gotten acclimated to being the starting quarterback and kind of shaking off the rust of being the second string guy. More than anything, it's the defenses in this game are so poor. Cincinnati on the year allowing 30 points per game, median-wise. Dallas, 28. Joe Burrow, his numbers, 26.5 completions for 38 attempts. That's his median for the year. No INTs, 255 yards. That's the median average schedule, and they played a little above average schedule. I could say he's going to get 10% more than that at least. He should be around 280. And then Cooper Rush, 22. I'm going to use his last 3 games because his first start against the Eagles was horrendous, and they never had the football, so he didn't get to do much. So the last 3 starts, 24 for 36, pretty close to Joe Burrow, 0 INTs, 247, and 1 touchdown. So Burrow better in the touchdown passes, but the stats pretty close, and I could give him another 10%. So I think Cooper Rush will be about 270. And as I said, Joe Burrow about 280 passing yards.
It is amazing, even watching yesterday's games with some of these teams who are already eliminated from the playoffs, still playing very hard, of course, for themselves, right, and their careers and their contracts coming up the next year. But a lot of these teams, the Jags pulled out a win over the Titans yesterday, but neither of these teams have been eliminated yet. The Cowboys 5-7 on the year. They're 12th right now in the NFC, and then the Bengals are sitting at 10th in the AFC at 4-8. So it'll be a tough climb for them with the Chargers and the Broncos both sitting there with 8 wins, as well as Baltimore, and then the Texans as well, and the Colts above them, and the Dolphins. So they're not giving up yet, either of these teams. So we know that we will get full effort.
Yeah, neither team eliminated yet, but it's the defenses that are just so bad. And I'm glad I just looked at fantasy points allowed, which, kind of equal how these defenses are playing against the quarterback. Cincinnati is number 29. I have number 30 right there. The Cowboys, 25th. I have them 26th. So my numbers, my defensive ranking numbers are right there with what both of these teams are allowing opposing teams. Cincinnati, 3,000 yards passing they have allowed so far in the year. Sorry about that. Probably someone calling that wants to make a bet on women's basketball.
So I know you don't love overs, you don't love favorites, but that's what your numbers say tonight.
That's what they say. And again, I like to take off 20% of my favorite, especially in pro sports. So I really make the game about 6.5. I think the Bengals are the right side. They're the better team. I have their offense ranked 6th, though. You're basically betting Joe Burrow against Cooper Rush, I think, in this game. We know Joe Burrow is the better quarterback of the two, even though the median numbers on their stats. But Joe Burrow's got a much larger sample size.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush, I just took the last 3 games, but 1 touchdown pass per game to 2.5 for Burrow. That's an advantage in this game right there. Median score on the year for the Bengals is 30-30. Median score for the Cowboys, 21-28.
Ooh.
So
I like the favorite more than I do the over. I do worry that the Cowboys may not be able to score. This might be an opportunity that the Bengals really step up and say, okay, this is a game we have to win. We are going up against a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush, right? And they've let so many other good games slip away. They lost twice to the Ravens when they were right there in those games, and that's a very good Baltimore team. So I think this is one that they got to have and know that they can have and even cover that 5 points.
Yeah, I hate overs when it looks so easy. Because everyone's going to bet this total over as well. Up to 50 here at the South Point. I think you'll see 50.5s on this game, and it just looks easy. It just looks like a 28-27 game, or maybe 31-24 in that range, Cincinnati. So
another point that you always say is the whole league's watching, right? This is a standalone game on Mondays. These defenses know that they have not been playing up to their level or where they can, and they've been hearing it that they are not very good defensively, so maybe they really step up in this moment.
Yeah, because the level from the top team down to the bottom team is razor thin. The the talent is there. So there are injuries to these defenses, though, and that's, basically why they have been so bad this year. Cincinnati, I know, had a much better defense coming into the year, but again, beat up a little bit, and so's Dallas. The long, long list of injuries they've had to their defensive side of the football and some really key players.
Well, it should be an interesting one, and I know that Ryan and Jeff Parles are going to break down this game and give out some props that they like in this one as well, and that is at 3 p.m. here on Sports by the Book Football Frenzy, so make sure that you join them tonight for that special edition. I really didn't dive into props for this one. I had a few yesterday going into that slate, but I do like the Bengals in this one. That would be my only play here for Monday Night Football.
Well, again, I had the guys' median numbers on this, so I could take a look real quick and kind of see them. Do you have prop numbers in front of you?
I can.
So, passing obviously is the number one with me just doing numbers on these guys. Cooper Rush at 234. Again, I think it should be around 270. So I like that over. And you could get these over and maybe not the game. And again, I adjusted Joe Burrow to like 280. He's 270. I think it's a good spot. Again, hate to bet all overs on these, but it just seems like that's, the way it is with these two defenses. They're just so poor. Touchdown passes 1.5. Burrow minus 220 to throw 2. So
yep.
We don't want to lay that type of price. And to go under in Cooper Rush is minus $1.60. So nothing there. Completions, I bet you, has got a little bit of value, especially Cooper Rush. He's completing 24 passes per game over the last 3, and playing against another weak defense is a good chance that he'll go over 22.5. Minus 110, Joe Burrow at 24.5.
Yep.
So I could see that. And if both guys go over their number in pass completions, there's a good chance they go over in their passing yards. So they're all kind of correlated, so you don't want to overbet those and maybe just like 0.5% of your bankroll on those bets.
How about Chase Brown for Cincinnati Bengals? Because Dallas has definitely struggled in stopping the run, so they may be able to utilize him a little as well. A lot, really, in this matchup. So I know that would kind of hurt your Joe Burrow passing yards, but I think that is a very high number there for him. 277 is what I'm seeing for passing yards for Joe Burrow. So that was right there with you for 270 and kind of even adjusting it over.
Yeah, I definitely. I think it's worth a bet over. I'm looking at Joe Burrow's rushing yards, 8.5. His median is 9.5, and he seems to want to do whatever he can to help this team win.
Yep.
So he's going to leave the pocket 3 times in this game, and if he gets one good run, he could go over this number. Against a weaker defense, I think he'll find a play or two where he can find some running room and
I do like that. If you can find
that.
8.5 for Joe Burrow with rushing yards, not a bad play at all.
Well, then, last week I hit my couple of props on looking at quarterbacks. Let's look at what he's done recently, and I think that's, a telling sign of whether he's going to run the ball or not. And he has his last 3 games, 3 carries, 2, 2, 2. Yardage has been better than the beginning of the year. 15, 11, 6, 28, and 9. So 4 of the last 5 games, Joe Burrow's gone over 8.5. The one he barely got over by 0.5, but that's a winner still. So, I like that. I like Joe Burrow over 8.5 rushing yards.
I will just throw in, too, and adding about Chase Brown here in his last 5 games. So he did have 70 against Pittsburgh, 86 against the Chargers. Very good. 42. The Ravens really slowed him down. 120 against the Raiders. And then just 32 against Philadelphia. So his number is 76.5. Maybe check out his receiving yards as well. Wow, they do like to throw to him as well. I would rather do the rushing and receiving together, which is 107.5. They're already, the books know. It's a very high number.
Dallas 25th defending running backs. So a team that doesn't stop the run, that's going to be tough for them. Cincinnati has been much better against running backs. Not great, but I'm looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th in the NFL. So their strength has been against running backs after we looked at what they've done at quarterbacks. So how about tight ends? And neither team really have a high profile tight end. Cincinnati, Dallas is about in the middle of the pack against defending tight end. Cincinnati, one of the weakest.
Wow.
So maybe that's where you could find something. I'm not even sure who the Dallas tight end is.
Is it Schultz? Ferguson. Yeah, who is the
Ferguson
backup?
was our top. It's Luke Schoonmaker. 22 receptions. He was more of a blocking tight end, but I think he's going to get some opportunities maybe. Let's see what he's done his last couple of games. That could be a play with Cincinnati being weak. They targeted him 10 times 3 weeks ago against Houston, 4 times against Washington, and 6 times against the Giants. And he's caught 14 balls in the last 3 weeks. So that's got to take a look at Schoonmaker.
Okay. I like it. That is going down the board, too. There are some Ferguson props up, though. So are we sure he is out? He may
I know
back.
if there's props on him, he's probably not out. Let me check
Right.
the injured list for Ferguson. He is not on the injured list, so it looks like he is back, and maybe he'll be taking time away from Schoonmaker. So that's when you do these props, it's a lot of work, and you've got to be on top of it each and every week to make sure that you know who's playing and who's not, and why players are doing well or not doing well. So Jake Ferguson is right now on the depth chart the number 1 guy for the Dallas Cowboys in this game. Let me look at his game logs and see if he had played any at all in the last 3. He played against Houston, was his last game. He got injured in that game, and he missed the last 2. Before that, Dak loved to throw to him. He's got big-time stats. I mean, he's probably around 6.5, 7 targets a game, and he catches almost everything thrown to him. He's caught 43 out of 58 passes.
Wow.
You throw it to him, he's going to catch it.
And he's plus 275 anytime touchdown.
Has 0 touchdowns on the year. They did not throw to him touchdown-wise. Let's see if Cincinnati, how many they've given up to the tight end. They've given up 8 this year to the tight end, one of the higher numbers in the league. Carolina, 10 is the worst, and then 8 is the second, is Cincinnati. So they've given up 8 touchdowns to tight ends this year. I could,
A lot of those might have come from the Baltimore games, actually.
And they very well could have with Andrews. You're right. So, and those were really
Andrews
high-scoring
unlikely.
games. So 2 games could skew those numbers as well. But with Jake Ferguson back, I really think that Cooper Rush used the second-string tight end quite a bit. Now he's got his number 1 guy back. They may share a little bit of time, but I'm sure Ferguson's going to get a lot of footballs thrown his way in this game.
I like it. And you could find some good numbers there for the tight ends for the Cowboys. But that's our Monday night game here tonight. Bengals, Cowboys, Cincinnati, 5-point favorite on the road, and the total 50. Let's dive into a few college basketball games that we do have on the board, and then we'll take a short break before we get into hockey and a little bit of NBA. So I am excited. Tomorrow we will talk about NBA because we do have the NBA in-season cup set, and it is intriguing. 2 teams that were in it last year from the Eastern Conference, 4 completely new teams in the Western Conference. So we'll give our thoughts on that and really dive into it tomorrow. But let's go to some college basketball that we do have on the board, starting with Minnesota and Indiana. Here at the South Point, I'll give you that number. Indiana, 10-point favorite at home, and the total 139.5.
Yeah, I have Indiana 12 and 130.5. Minnesota coming off a really bad loss. First conference game at home against Michigan State. They lost 90-72. And, I've talked about this team a couple times that they've had some really slow-paced games. They had a couple early in the year in the 50s against North Texas and Yale. I think it might have been more North Texas and Yale. I know it was North Texas slowing that game down. But their pace has been about 65, 64, and that's what it was against Michigan State. So I got a feeling that's the way Ben Johnson wants to play. Indiana wants to get up and go. So if you like Indiana, you might as well parlay that to minus the 10 to the over. I'm not going to bet the game, even though my number says under. just Indiana being that big of a favorite, they could force Minnesota into an up-tempo game, and we saw what happened in Minnesota's last game against Michigan State. When they fell behind, they had to play a little faster, and the score became 90-72, went well over this total. So be conservative and pass on that one.
And not really the tempo that they want to play at. Let's go to VCU 24 here at home against Pennsylvania, total 137.
Yeah, non-conference game. My number 142.5, and Penn has played against a lot of extremely slow teams this year. This will be, VCU will be one of the faster teams they've played. The fastest team that Penn has played against was St. Joe's in a rivalry game, and they lost 86-69. That did come 155. So I know that their stats could be skewed a little bit just because the competition they've played. When you play a bunch of slow teams, you're going to end up have slow numbers. Now, VCU, extremely solid on defense. They do create turnovers, and that could be a big factor in this game, that they end up getting a lot of layups, and this game goes flying over. They're a 22-point favorite. I love it over. I made it 142.5. It's 135.5. It has gone up a little bit already, but I think this is a game that you get a lot of easy baskets late in the game.
You're right. It opened 133.5, and now South Point is the only 137 left on the board.
Oh, it's even higher than that now.
Now it is moving up to 137.5. So it's still at 137
Lost a lot
here.
of value.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of value on it, but that's a shame. But I would wait to bet in game, and maybe it starts slow. Pennsylvania is going to want to slow the game down, and they should be able to slow it down a little bit enough, maybe in the first 5 minutes of this, that you can go over a total around 134.5, 133.5. Expect to get a lot of points late.
I like that angle a lot. And now the 24s are disappearing as well, so bettors are taking the points there with Penn in this matchup. Next one on the board, Baylor, laying 24 at home, total 141.5 against Abilene Christian.
Yeah, this Baylor team has been kind of up and down. They lost to Gonzaga to start the year. So, first game of the year, I can, understand. They beat Arkansas on a neutral. They beat St. John's on a neutral. And then they lost to Tennessee. And those games were in the Bahamas. And then they went to Connecticut, first true road game, and they were in the game, the entire game. They lose by 4. They end up losing the spread by half a point, 76-72. It's a shame they don't have a big game on deck, because I would say this is a sandwich game, but I still think it's a game where Abilene Christian, it's their biggest game of the year. Playing against Baylor, it doesn't get any bigger for them than this, and they don't get to play teams in the state this good. So I think that they'll be in this. The one thing they do really well is Abilene Christian gets to the free throw line. And if they can get to the free throw line enough times in this game for freebies, and they hit their freebies, that's going to help them stay close here. Baylor, I just don't think will be interested in this game whatsoever.
Wow.
But my number's right there, though.
Fourth most to the free throw line.
What's that?
Fourth most to the free throw line for them so far this year.
So I think that that's a game. Again, I'm trying to build a case for Christian, because I know that this is a huge game for them.
Let's take a quick break, unless you have anything on the extra board with South Carolina State and Charleston Southern or Hofstra.
Well, I have, the Norfolk State Hofstra game should be a really good basketball game for two upward teams. Norfolk, Hofstra is led by Speedy Claxton. His teams normally play up tempo, but this year they're playing extremely slow. They play really good defense, but it's Norfolk State that I like too, that I think they have an up tempo offense, but they haven't shown it so far, and it could be because they have played some slow teams. They played against Hampton, they played against Stony Brook. Stanford played slow, but Grand Canyon, they ran, and that game came 164. William and Mary, they ran. That game came 157. This total is just 132. I made it 142, and I think it could be a little more up-tempo than the total actually is telling us, because Iona, I'm looking at Hofstra now, against Iona, 90-76. Seton Hall, who plays slow, was very low scoring.
Yeah.
Florida State up tempo. That game came 140. Rice plays slow. Tarleton plays slow. Arkansas State was the one game that, kind of a mid-team. They played 134 in that game. So I like over there or Norfolk and Hofstra.
Okay, so you're saying the numbers are kind of skewed from the opponents that they have had that want to play slow. But although we do know Hofstra wants to play slow as well, but because the combined, now you're putting them with a faster team.
Yeah, well, if you want to play fast and you play 10 games and 8 of them are against teams who play slow.
Right.
They slow you down. They slow the entire game down. It's going to look like you play slow too.
Right.
So I just don't think that's the way Hofstra really wants to play. I don't think that's the way Norfolk wants to play. I think Norfolk wants to trap and press and play fast.
So over 132 in that one, which a few other 132s out there, but there are some 132 and a half already. So starting to move in that direction. But we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll dive into these 3 hockey games and look ahead to some NBA and talk about our one matchup between the Knicks and Toronto tonight in the NBA. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back, everybody. You are watching Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Alex White alongside Kenny White. We're going to get to some hockey. We're also going to talk some NBA and anything else that may come up for us today. But I just want to check in with the chat. We appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Vicarious Vegas, Vince, Dean Hilt, good morning. Jerry is up as well. And Dean Hilt said good morning. He had a great weekend. So very good. Hopefully cash some tickets and maybe even some horse bets as well for our friend Dean. But all right, let's get into some hockey. Not the most intriguing games on the board here tonight with these 3, but curious if we can find some angles and some bets that we like in them. So we've got the Red Wings and Buffalo, both of them on quite the losing streak. Detroit has lost 5 in a row now, and the Sabres have lost 6. Taking a look at the number here at the South Point between these two, we've got Buffalo minus 120 and the total is 6. If you like the over, you got to lay that minus 120 between these two.
Buffalo, as you mentioned, two teams on losing streaks. Buffalo 6 in a row, Detroit 5 in a row. They have played twice already this year, And Buffalo won the first one 5-3 at home. Detroit won the second one 2-1 in their home game. So both teams have held home ice in the series. One game high scoring, one game low scoring, and I think it's a tough game. The numbers I think are just right. I think that they're Buffalo slightly better. So home ice about $1.40 is I think is the correct price in this game, and our total is right on too. Again, like I said, one game high scoring 5-3, the other one 2-1.
Pretty incredible. The bettors are liking the dog, though, in this one, right? It looks like it opened minus 140 for the Sabres and now has been bet down to minus 120. Is that what you're seeing?
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. I do see a lot of $1.20s. When I sent this out this morning at 6:30, there had been no movement on it. So money for Detroit here. No injuries that I'm seeing.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So it looks like it isn't going to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for Buffalo, who I was going to make the case is the much better goalie between these two, but it will be James Reimer is expected now. So that is a 20-cent drop off there between those two, and that makes sense.
Yeah. Luukkonen, very good goalie.
Yes.
You're right. You can make the case him being the way better goalie. And now, so the second stringer going, that I could make the case for the over. Did money come in on the over? No, 6 over 20s. South Point went from 6 to 6 over 20. You may be able to find 6 over 15. I think that'd be, if you're going to make a play on that game, that would be the way to go.
I agree, especially Buffalo right now, 18th in goals for at 2.93 per game. Now, the Red Wings have been struggling. They are 29th in that category, but I think we can get some goals here between these two. Let's go to the Blackhawks and the Rangers. We do have a backup goalie as of the last time I checked here for the Blackhawks as well, and it should be Shesterkin. Yep, Shesterkin will be playing for the Rangers. So they are a big favorite, minus 260 at home, and the total is 6. So it will be Soderblom on the other side for Chicago. Maybe an underplay, right? Chicago has been one of those teams that we have liked under all year. Pretty good in goals against and 30th in goals for. So
7 straight road unders.
Wow.
2 for Chicago right now. 7 straight on the road. They've gone under. 5.5 is our number, and you can go under 6, minus 20. You got Shesterkin in goal, and I don't think there's a big drop off with Soderblom in goal for Chicago. So I agree with you there. First time these teams have played this year. The Chicago team has just really struggled. Boy, they've lost 5 in a row, and they just fired their head coach. Yeah, so that's right. Always the step up, and if they're going to step up, I think it could be on the defensive end then. So yeah, that's another reason to like that game under tonight. Looking to see who. The Rangers play Buffalo next, so not a big deal. They are coming off a loss.
The Rangers they have been struggling.
They have been struggling. Playing poorly.
Talks of trading the captain, unless they did as well.
I'm sure you're going to see money for Chicago in this game today. Dave Koken, God rest in peace. He'd be on Chicago right away because the coach.
Is this their first game, Brian? Since then, it's their second. Since the coaching fire, but sometimes it takes a little bit, especially in hockey. So, promoted the AHL coach.
Yep, I knew he'd been fired.
Yeah, I did too. I just a lot of football stuff going on. Okay, so lean to the under here at 6, and maybe even a lean to Chicago in that one. Let's go ahead and go to Anaheim and Montreal. Check out this number. John Gibson will be the goalie for the Ducks, and Sam Montembeault for the Canadians. Montreal minus 140 at home, and the total 6. Do you have our numbers up?
Yeah, I made Montreal $1.27 and 6, so not a lot of value there either way. This is the first of 2 games that they play each other this year. This starts a 4-game road trip for Anaheim. They've been at home and wasn't the greatest homestand. 1-3. They won shootout against Ottawa. So it's an Anaheim team that has struggled, and as has Montreal. Both these teams well below average.
I do think that Montevo is the better goalie here, even though his record just 8-11-3 goals against 2.89, almost 3, but 91 save percentage. And Gibson 4-3-1, pretty good goals against 2.76, but he's allowed 9 in his last 3 starts. But they were pretty good teams he played up against with the Kings, the Knights, and the Wild. So, as I mentioned, these 3. Not the best of games, but trying to find an edge any way we can. This one, there's really nothing.
No, nothing. Pass for me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about NBA. I kind of threw this on you, but there are 2 games tomorrow in our NBA Emirates Cup games going on. So tomorrow will be Orlando and the Bucks, and we have the Dallas Mavs and the Thunder. And as I mentioned, 4 completely new teams from last year in the Western Conference. I think that just tells you how good that Western Conference is. So something to keep an eye out to. Last year, the Knicks and the Bucks were both in it on the Eastern side, and could be a potential revenge if we get them in the semifinals, where the Bucks knocked them out last year in the first round. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But right now, the Bucks have to take care of business playing against Orlando Magic. So 2 really good games tomorrow. I don't think you have your numbers yet.
I can make them. Let's look at tonight, though.
Okay, we do have one game tonight.
There's only one game tonight. And who's playing? The New York Knicks.
The New York Knicks.
The New York Knicks, you just said, are playing the Atlanta Hawks on Wednesday.
That's right.
In the NBA Cup. I just have a feeling that there could be no interest in this game for the Knicks tonight. I did make New York 6, 234.5, and that's with full motivation. I will fade the Knicks and take the 6 with Toronto, because I just think Wednesday is going to be a much bigger game.
I will say I went back and looked at last year going into the first game, the first knockout rounds, and there was no trend with the teams that were coming up with a big game. So the Lakers were still winning, the Knicks, and so I don't know. I couldn't find anything to really go and fade. But I mean, I guess if you're just taking the points for them to keep it close.
Yeah, I know. What did you look at ATS wise?
I did not look at ATS.
Those are all the better teams.
It's very true.
Favorites. I'm not sure, but it would be a small sample size, because you're looking at 8 teams. You would have basically 8 games to look at. And I don't know how close they were to when the game's being played, but this is a Monday, and they're going to play at home on Wednesday against Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they're making more money in these games now. Tonight's game, they're not making any extra money. They're getting their regular paycheck. That they're getting more money to play in that game on Wednesday night. And if they win that, they're moving on to play Golden State or Houston. So
at the South Point, Knicks 6.5, total 231.5, and you made it 6?
Yeah, I made it
anyways?
6.
Okay, so
no, that's my number if there was full motivation.
Right.
I don't think there's full motivation for New York in this game. And also, Karl Anthony Towns is questionable with a knee injury. It's probably a strained ligament or tendon, if anything, and he's probably could play tonight if he had to, and it looks like the line says he's going to play, but who says he may not?
Yeah.
He may not. If he doesn't, this line will crash to 2.5 in that range. He's worth so many points to the betting line. So I made the total 234.5, and I think that it's already been bet over here at the South Point, 230.5 to 231.5. But I could see it being a very high scoring game. Both these teams can put points up.
All right, we're going to take a 1-minute break so we can get our boards out and see if we do have at least a play or 2 for each of us. But if not, we're going to have to come back tomorrow. I mean, it is a small slate, 1 NFL, 1 NBA, 3 college basketball, and 3 hockey that we are choosing from. But
if you're going to give me a minute,
I'm going to give you
I'll make
1 minute
on these 4 games that are coming up, 2 tomorrow, 2 on Wednesday. Then I'll give you my side. I'll do the totals later, but at least I'll give you the side what I think these games should be.
All right, don't go anywhere. 1 minute, we'll get the lines for tomorrow's NBA Cup games. We'll be right back.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the Poker Room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for giving us a minute so we could get our plays on the board. And we will also talk about the NBA games tomorrow. I'm looking at the lines right now across the city and everywhere else. So sports betting is legal now. But so let's start off with the 2 games tomorrow because you did make the spread. And I know you're still finishing up with your plays. But I just have one on the board as of now. And I'm going with that Blackhawks and the Rangers under 6. I think worst case, we could get a push there if we get 6 goals in that one. All right, he's getting a lot of prop bets.
3 plays. 2
3
prop
plays
bets.
And 2 prop bets. Here we go, starting with the NFL game tonight.
So my board will be Joe Burrow over 8.5 rushing yards tonight. And the bottom one is the next prop for the game. I'm going to go with Jake Ferguson over 37.5 receiving yards. And then I like that college basketball game as a Coppin State. No, it's Norfolk State. Norfolk State and Hofstra over 132.
Okay, and I have that Rangers play. I also do like Toronto getting that 6.5 at home against the Knicks, but I don't know if it's going to make the board just yet. But let's take a look. We'll use our friends over at the Westgate, use the Superbook numbers right now. So the Bucks, as of right now, are an 8-point favorite against Orlando. Now, Orlando has done a fantastic job hanging around even without one of their best players. So what do you have your initial number for this one?
Banchero's been out, but also Franz Wagner has been banged up, and he is the best player on the team. And it has shown that since Banchero's been out. He's worth 4.5 points at the betting line. So I have with Wagner in Milwaukee 7, with him out 11.5 in this game. And what did you say the number was? I see
8 right now at the Superbook. There is a 7.5 at Circa though. So if we're liking the favorite, that's the best number right now.
So not a lot there. I would probably lay the points in Milwaukee if Wagner's out, because then you got your 2 best players out of the lineup. And it's such a meaningful game. I think you get a true performance out of the Milwaukee Bucks. And they've got Middleton, who just came back. So they're as healthy as they've been all year long right now, the Milwaukee Bucks. But we need to find out that injury information, whether Wagner's playing or not.
I'm looking right now
and he's out and this is out indefinitely. So if he's out, I think the game should be 11.5, and I'll take the Bucks. I'll lay I'll see if I can find an 8 somewhere.
That is that's brutal for Orlando that has been playing so good. I want to see the streak that the Bucks have been on as well. Oh, only 1 in a row, but what is their last 10? Because they have been playing very good basketball.
They're starting to play much better,
Yeah,
like everybody expects. Because they have all the talent in the world with Dame and Giannis. So
I see that they are 8-2 in their last 10, though. So
so the 2 they lost a home game to Atlanta right before they were going to play the Boston Celtics, and they lost 111-105 to the Celtics. rebounded with a win at Brooklyn. This one will have more meaning, and do not believe they've played this year. That's a good thing. This will be the first time that these two teams have played this year, so that's good.
Yeah,
I like Milwaukee.
And right now, I mean, this is probably the best number that you're going to get, especially if news comes out and he is.
Well, the news is out already. So
he is out. So this is their number out.
It's built into the line already. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. One more on the board in this one, and we've got the Mavs and the Thunder. Now I lost my board up. Okay. So the Thunder 4 in this one at home, and the total 228.5. We're not doing totals right now, but sidewise, initial reaction to that 4.
Yeah, I think that Oklahoma City's the better team. Even without Chet Holmgren in, this team has been built to win a championship. I think Oklahoma City and Houston are right there in the top teams in the West. Dallas is still very good, obviously, with Doncic. But Kyrie Irving always scares me. Just you don't know what you're going to. So much inconsistency out of him. I have Oklahoma City rated higher. Home court. I made the game 6. They've only they've played once this year already, and Dallas won the game, and they won the game
very close
in Oklahoma City, 121-119. So there is revenge factor for Oklahoma City here. Washington had a big game that night. I don't think Doncic even played that game, and there was an upset win. Let me look real quick in the box score.
Yeah.
But I think he was out. He sure was. Did not play that game.
Wow.
I think Oklahoma City thought, we'll just walk out on the court and win this game because Luka's not playing. He's out. We won. It's over with. But Washington had a huge night. I remembered that when I saw the night, Washington led the team in scoring with 27 and had 17 rebounds. He's a really good player, P.J. Washington, but not a great player. So you're going to get Oklahoma City's best effort in this basketball game. You're going to get Dallas's too. It's going to be a great game. I didn't make a total yet on it. You're right. Now I'll have that tomorrow. But I think this could be a very high-scoring basketball game because you've got two great offenses.
I will just bring up Dallas is on a 7-game winning streak, so if you added a little bit into that, but it's kind of balanced out with the revenge factor.
Maybe, might balance out that a little bit.
So leaning to the favorites there. And tomorrow coming into tomorrow, we'll look for some future bets with those 8 teams who are all playing for the in-state tournament. I know last year you did very well on that, so we'll see if we can find any edges there. But
my numbers, I have the 2 games that go on Wednesday.
Okay.
The Knicks I made 7.5. The market is solid 7.5 everywhere. So I'm right on the number in that game. There's nothing there. But Houston, yeah, I just mentioned the Houston Rockets. I love this basketball team. I think they're very, very good. I made them 8. You can lay 2.5 with the Rockets over the Golden State Warriors. You're going against Steph Curry, but this is a really good Houston team.
That's a team that we have to look for to win it all.
Yeah.
And see what odds that they are going to give you because, I mean, with Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Golden State in there, you're getting pretty good odds there with Houston right now.
We'll do some of that tomorrow.
Yeah.
How about that? But closing out the show today, college football odds to win the national championship. You have the sheet right here from Chris and team here at the South Point that they put these together. Current odds, the favorite to win it all right now, Georgia plus 375. That's a very fair price for the favorite.
I do not think they should be the favorite.
Oregon number 4. Well, at least they have a bye. Georgia has a bye. That's true.
That is true.
Texas at 5-1. That's the team I'm looking at.
Yep.
They've lost twice to Georgia, but they outplayed Georgia this last game in Atlanta. That impresses me. They missed 2 field goals. They did not get in the end zone when they could have, should have. Had a big offensive pass interference penalty on one drive. They just shot themselves in the foot. I think they improve, and they, if Georgia is a top team, that's the only team they've lost to. Maybe they don't play Georgia ever again.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to definitely have to look at the bracket and see how that breaks down.
Yeah, they're going to play. If they win, they play Arizona State.
Right.
They beat Clemson. They're a double-digit favorite against Clemson. They're going to be a double-digit favorite against Arizona State. They probably end up playing Oregon in the Final Four. They got to beat Oregon, and then they may run into Georgia.
Or Ohio State, who has that revenge over Oregon.
Or Ohio State.
Which would be tough.
That's one I like at 5-1. Ohio State's 5-1. Penn State 8-1. Notre Dame 12-1.
Penn State has been bet because they are now 6-1.
Okay.
Yep.
Money on the Nittany Lions. SMU is 200-1 to open the season. Indiana, how about them? 3,000-1 to open the season. They're now 40-1.
Wow.
Arizona State 1,000-1. They're 20-1 to win it all. The long shot right now in the field is Clemson at 50-1.
Yep. And that's probably because they do have Texas up first.
Oh, no
SMU
doubt.
is next, but they are 30-1.
And SMU gets Penn State. If they beat Penn State, they get Boise State. So SMU very well could end up. And again, I thought they outplayed, who did they just play?
Clemson,
yeah.
They have
Clemson.
a very good offense. And that Kevin Jennings has been very good for them.
He had a great game.
Yeah.
One turnover. I think he had one interception, but they fumbled the ball away once too. It was very costly. But they made a great comeback, and they showed how good of a team they were at that point. Amazing Alabama not in this. No Alabama, no Mississippi.
Yep.
But that's the way it goes. So those two teams, you want to fade them in a bowl game because they will have no interest playing in a bowl game.
Right. Absolutely.
No interest playing in a bowl game. So look to fade those two teams, unless they're playing somebody that every player in the team decided to go to the transfer portal and leave. So
And even
again, UNLV playing Cal. We don't know how many players are going to leave UNLV and, head for the transfer portal.
It is very interesting. But as you mentioned, we will go through NBA more tomorrow with the in-season tournament.
We'll do all 4 games, side and total.
We'll do all 4 games, side and total, so we'll be ready for Wednesday. So if we can find any good numbers there, just like Houston that we already like for Wednesday with that side. But we'll talk more college football throughout the week. And more hockey and college basketball, of course. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today. I'll do one more quick check on the chat. Roger joined us, JR, and Nick. So thank you all for jumping in the chat and joining us this morning. Remember, 12 p.m. is Punchlines. You have to go over to Punchlines FN YouTube channel. I will be there with Frank Nicotero today. And then 3 p.m. Sports by the Book. We'll be right here back again for Football Frenzy. Jeff Parles and Ryan McCormick. For Kenny White, I'm Alex White. I'll see you guys again tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on Sports by the Book.